Hey, what's up, church? Welcome back to day 4 of my short reflections on sharing hope, looking at how we can spread the good news and tell people about Jesus and about faith. So on day 4, we're going to look at appealing to somebody's intellect. So one of the most difficult parts of sharing faith with somebody is when that person doesn't really understand or won't believe unless there's like concrete proof. Unless they see it with their own eyes or experience it, they're just not buying it. And that's really common because lots of people struggle to have faith in something they can't see, right? But ultimately, that's what faith is. But they'd rather trust their own knowledge, their own experiences, their own understanding of things than put their faith in something that's not obvious. So in the New Testament, there's a story a bit like this with a guy called Saul who becomes Paul. So he was a well-educated guy, really intelligent, even persecuted Christians and those who believed in God. And comes across as a bit of a know-it-all. He comes across as arrogant, but one day his life is transformed. So we're going to look at the passage, Acts 9, verse 3 to 6. So I'm just going to read it out here. It says, "As he neared Damascus, suddenly a light from heaven flashed around him. He fell to the ground and heard a voice saying, 'Saul, why do you persecute me?' Saul asked, 'Who are you, Lord?' 'I am Jesus, whom you are persecuting. Now get up and go to the city, and you will be told what you must do.' So Paul went from oppressing and harassing Christians about their faith to encouraging and teaching them in the neighboring city. And for years he'd heard about Jesus but chose to reject him because it didn't line up with what he knew, what he'd experienced, what he could see and hear and feel, and what he'd experienced so far in his life. But no knowledge or explanation could explain what happened to him when he heard the voice of God. And one of the challenges of sharing faith is quite often people want us to prove it to them that God's real, and they feel like they can prove that God isn't also, which, by the way, neither is true, because there's no concrete proof in either way. And it's really hard to share the good news with those people if they're just not going to have it. But what's okay is having the debate with them if it's built on love and understanding and trust. So allowing them to question you, even saying, "Do you know what, I don't know the answer to this, but I have faith," is okay too. People are always going to have questions about faith and about God, and honestly, we're never going to know all the answers. But just talking about our own experiences and lives and the things we've seen of God can help both sides of us to learn, and they can do the same, and it can help us to learn as well how to communicate with others like them about the good news. So we can learn from them as well as them from us when we have these conversations. And we don't have to know the answers straight away. We can sometimes say, "Do you know what, I actually don't know. Give me a chance and I'll go have a look and we can come back and debate this together." And that's a great way too of exploring faith with somebody who has an interest or wants to debate or wants to prove that God isn't real, which is really challenging. Some people aren't going to change their minds until they literally see concrete evidence. And that's okay too, because if that happens, that's fine. Because ultimately, it's not up to us to bring people to Jesus. It's up to us to help them find ways of meeting. But God is the person who's going to do that work. We can tell them what we know and trust God to do the rest. And we're not ever going to know everything, but we can ask God for spiritual wisdom and supernatural wisdom through the Holy Spirit. And as we learn more about God ourselves and share more of that with other people, maybe God will use that truth to meet with someone. So thanks for joining me today. Join me again tomorrow for the last reflection of this series. See ya.